Hello and welcome back to the very sunny and beautiful Wild, which is in the Scottish borders, where I'm sat by this beautiful river where I've just been for a swim and my hair is drying off and it was amazing. And I've brought you here because it is far too hot for me to be sat in my van talking about photography. I want to come outside and talk about it where I love being. And this takes me on to my point of why I'm here, which is to talk about color grading of filming footage. I have many requests of people off the back of my vlogs asking how I color grade. I am not an expert in filming, filmography, whatever you want to call it. I am not an expert. Everything I've learned has been self-taught in DaVinci Resolve, filming on my camera. It's literally just been trial and error, and what I'm going to show you is just what works for me. It might not work for you, it might not be correct. Who knows, it works for me. So that is what I'm going to be showing you. And it will be in log filming, particular F-log, and 4K filming, 24p, sometimes 5 times slower, sometimes just in normal 24p. It's got really bright all of a sudden. Now, for me personally, I don't like to take a long time editing because I hate being stuck at my laptop. I hate editing. I hate editing in Lightroom. I hate editing in DaVinci Resolve. I like to put everything together, don't get me wrong, but I hate like the little tweaky there. It's so annoying. So my form of color grading is very simple, very quick. And although it's in log, oh, I thought I just wrote Kingfisher. Sorry. Although it's in log filming, it is something similar steps you can take as well if you're just using normal film simulation filming. So that's all well and good. So anyway, let's crack on, and I'll first do one clip and then I'll show you another one and some top tips as well that I use when I'm doing my editing. So before I go blind, because I feel like a vampire right now, I'll take you through my color grading. Okay, so welcome, and this is the first example of color grading I've got. So it's just a clip of myself walking through some water, as you can see, but water makes a nice element when grading, so I thought I'd show you this. So let's go into the color tab, and this is the clip right here. I'll play it again so you can see it. There you go. And these are my nodes. This is where all the editing is going to happen. It's in this node tab up the top. They are your nodes. There are also the other tabs which I'll show you, which are for your effects and your timeline, which I'll show you in a minute. But the effects, I do use a couple, which I'll show you later on anyway. But these two are my effects. And you also have your timeline where you can see the rest of your clips and everything. But we're going to stay in the nodes for the minute where the main editing happens. So again, here is the clip. And if I remove all these, and then I remove these ones as well, you'll see the colours changing back to how the footage originally was, which is this. And that is how an F-log or log image looks. It's undersaturated, under contrast deliberately, so when you draw it into your editing software, you bring that back in with more quality. That's the idea of it anyway. But yeah, this is what the clip looks like prior to editing. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is lookup tables, or LUTs. These are what you use for log footage, not for your normal film simulation footage, but just yeah, F-log footage. And these are your LUTs, as you can see. And you can go on Fujifilm's website and download the correct ones for the correct model you've got, for F-log 2 or F-log, or the X-H2S, X-T5 or X-T3, or whatever you've got, X-T4. They'll all be on there, so I'll add the link below for those. And then I'll click on one of these, and as you can see, it changes in my node. And I'm just going to test out which one looks the best. So I think this one looks the best. It's a bit lighter, not as dark, so I'm going to go for that one. You can change them afterwards if you need to, but this is what I'm going to use. So we're back in the node menu, and this is when I start to add separate nodes using the Option and S button if you've got a Mac. If you've not got a Mac, I don't know what to use. And they're going to put these two by the side, which I would change straight out because I always forget to do this. And these are your settings for exporting for your video. So I've got my record 709 and my gamma. I'm going to use Fujifilm F-Log, but if this wasn't in log, I'd use 2.2 and 2.4. But for this video, I'm going to use Fujifilm F-Log. There we go. Okay. So next I'm going to go on to the first node. And the reason why I'm going to do this, it just helps me organize my nodes separately. This is why I put them in a separate format. It just makes it easier for me. You can move the nodes absolutely everywhere, as you can see. They go everywhere. So it's just personal preference how you want to organize your nodes, but this is how I like to organize it for me. So the first node, I'm going to use my curve, and this is going to start out with all the colors selected. So make sure you select the button to have them all selected. This is a little infinity bar, I think it is. And I'm just going to adjust the general video look from this to begin with. So as you can see, I'm just making it a little bit darker so it brings out that light coming into the water a bit more. And then I'm going to go onto my HDR, and I'm just going to make any fine adjustments here. I don't tend to touch my contrast that much. I don't like high contrasted the look, so I keep that as it is. You can use pivot to adjust this as well, just to balance it, but again, I don't really use it, so I'll just leave that for the minute. You can also touch your MD, which is medium density, I believe, and I could be wrong. And then you can also adjust your temperature as well. But again, I'm not really going to touch these. The only thing I will do is adjust my saturation, because being an F-Log, it does come out a little bit undersaturated. And then if you go into your offset, again, you can change and adjust stuff in there, but we'll do that a bit later on. So the next curve in your next node is going to be red. And this is basically what I do. I follow the format of red, green, blue in all the separate nodes and just focus specifically on the colors in each bit. And as you can see, you can refine this, each color to the clip, which I think looks a bit better. So I'm just playing around with this now. And my aim is to keep everything natural. I want to keep it as natural as I shot it. That's my aim. So that's what I'm doing. There's just little fine adjustments. That's all it needs to be. And keep playing it back to remind yourself what it looks like. Keep turning like colors off, if anything, as well, to remind you what it looks like. So we're going to go back to our offset now, which is our color wheel. And here you can just bring up the whole warmth, the whole image. I find that a bit better than just touching the temperature. I think it looks a bit neater. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll turn it off and on again, as I mentioned, just to make sure it looks okay and looks real. And you can see the effects of everything if you just do this. You just turn it off at the bottom left-hand corner of your node, and then you can see what it looks like. So there we go. I'm quite happy with that so far. So I'll just go back to my universal curve with all the colors combined and just tweak it a little bit more, only a little bit. You don't need to go crazy. And yeah, I'm quite happy with that, to be honest with you. It's looking good. So I'll just make a couple more tweaks to the red, just as it looks a little bit too red for me. So just bring that blue back a bit more in, or the offset of it anyway. There we go, yeah. And I could spend hours just doing little tweaks like this, I'll be honest. But it's good just to make sure it's natural. So I'm going to add 2 more nodes, again using the Option and S button. And in this, I'm actually going to use some effects. So my first one, if I can find it, I'll just put the noise reduction in the next node as it's there. But I will turn this off in a second because it can cause lagging. But I'm just looking for the tilt shift bar. Oh, blur, there we go, sorry. So this is your tilt shift. Okay, I'm just going to turn that noise reduction off. So this is your tilt shift. I like using this as it gives a bit of a dreamy vibe to your footage. So this is how you adjust the blur strength, as you can see. But to begin with, I crank it up just so I can see where the blur is positioned. I find this just a bit easiest to do, and then I'll reduce it afterwards. So here is your near blur edge and your far blur edge, and this gives you an idea of how far the blur reaches into your footage, and then I reduce it afterwards because I only want a little bit of touch at the edges. Contrary to what people like, I like softened edges on my footage. I quite like the finish. I think it gives it a retro vibe. And then you can turn this up and down and just kind of go with preference what it looks like. Play the whole footage to make sure it all looks good if it's sat there, and it does, which I'm happy with. Now I'll turn on noise reduction again, and here you can adjust it with your thresholds. If you look at the water, you'll see that it will change. But I don't want it crazy, it's just to take off the edge just a little bit to give it a smoother finish. That's the idea of it anyway. But as I've said, this does cause a bit of lagging if you're doing a lot of footage, so just bear that in mind, and export time is crazy when it comes to noise reduction on my laptop anyway. So this is the footage. There we go, and I'm really happy with that. I think it looks nice, it's clean, it looks real. That's the main thing for me, my goal. And that's it without the lookup table. And if I turn the lookup table back on and remove everything else, you can see what has been done. And remove that. And there you go, that was before and this is after. Okay, so that was the first example. I'm now going to take you on to the second one, and I'll share my top tip, or something that's been actually really helpful for me when I'm editing in DaVinci. I hope you enjoyed the first bit, and I hope it's helpful, and let's move on to the second one and let's learn a bit more. Okay, so we are now on to the next clip, which is myself underwater trying to film, not underwater, but filming me swimming underwater. And that is this clip right here, and I'll show you just some little section of it. I really like the ripples in the water. I think this is lovely for color grading. It just gives you a good all-rounded sense of what you can do and how to make this all pop. So just a top tip before we begin is that if you've got a sequence of footage and they're all similar, shot at the same time, like I have in this next clip here, you can copy the information from your prior clip to this next clip. So you go into your color tab and you can say apply grade from one clip prior, and we can do that because that clip was one clip prior. If it was 2 clips, you'd have to do the 2 clip prior option, which is that, and it will copy all the information over, which is really handy. There is another way you can do this as well, which is just reset that. You go into your color tab again, back to your original clip and click memories, and then you click save memory A, and then go to your next clip and it will save all this. And you go into your color tab again, memories, load memory A, and it will save all the information from the clip prior to your next clip, which is really handy if you've got like a break between different clips for the same scene. This means you can load it without having to do it each time and faff, which is really, really good. So that's my top tip for you, and it saves a lot of time, so definitely use it if you can. It's really handy. Okay, so going back to this clip, let's just start editing. Here it is again, just one more time before I remove everything and show you the before. Ready? Whoop, boop, boop, boop. And this was it before, and then we're going to edit back to what we've just seen. So we go to the lookup tables again. I'm going to run through this quite quickly this time, just so you can get a bit more fast-paced version. I'm going to click this one again because it's a little bit lighter, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go for that one. I'm going to add my nodes as Option S, add quite a few, move 2 down, apply my settings for the video, which is my color space, record 709, and then my gamma, Fujifilm F-Log. Again, use 2.2 or 2.4 if this is normal filming, not F-Log. I'm going to go back to my first node and I'm going to edit in all of the colors given together, and I'm going to adjust them all together. So let's do this. Okay, I'm going to keep it darker a bit. Yeah, just it makes my subject, myself, pop in the water more. That's what I want to do. And I want to make those ripples pop as well if I can, but that looks good to me. I'm just going to adjust my next curve, which is red. Okay. Yep, just fine tweaks as we did before, nothing crazy. Green, too much green, too much red, and then blue. Perfect, like that. Back to my main one, I'm just going to tweak it a little bit again. You can go crazy with these, bear in mind, it's just I like to keep my stuff very simple and how it looked. That's my aim of what I go for. But you can go really creative with this. I've just not got that mind, obviously. But you do you. Have fun and just see what happens. Okay, so let's just go back to our HDR, just turn up the saturation a little bit. And I think that's everything. We'll put the shadows down a touch and see what that looks like. It's good. And hue, again, you can adjust this, but I won't adjust it too much. I don't really tend to touch these too much on my clips, just a little bit. Let's see how that's looking. Yeah, I'm like that. That looks good. And then you can go back and just see how it looks with just the LUT and how you've changed it yourself. So although the LUT is a preset, you still have to amend it yourself afterwards, and it's very malleable. So now I'm going to add 2 more nodes, as I did before. These will be my effects. As you can see, there's tons of effects. There's lots of things you can try. I don't tend to use a lot of them. I find them a bit faffy and a bit clunky. You can sharpen and soften, as you've just seen, but yeah, I'm just going to do the tilt shift again because I quite like it. I think it's nice. And I'm going to adjust this again to the angle I want. So I'm going to add that blur, as you can see, adjust it where I want it to go. Just turn down the blur strength so I know how strong it's roughly going to be. And now I'm going to adjust the near blur range and the far blur range, just because I don't want it too blurred, because it'd be pointless otherwise if it's just going to ruin your image. And then the next effect I'm going to add, if I'm happy with this one, yeah, I'm happy, is noise reduction, if I can find it, because I always go past it. But again, you can see all these different lovely clips and effects you can use, which I've not really used a lot of. But noise reduction is quite helpful because when shooting an F-log, it can become quite noisy because your base ISO is higher. So that's why I keep my noise reduction there. But you can't use it all the time on my system because it just crashes. So here it is anyway. And exporting is really slow. I don't know why, but it just is. And I'm going to go back to my main curve and just darken it a little bit more. And then again, make me pop just a little bit more. Ideally, I wouldn't have that shoreline in the background, but what can you do? I quite like it if it was just all water, but it adds some sense of environment, I guess, to the clip. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's have a look what it looks like if we turned everything off, or removed it, I should say. Let's put it back to there, just so we can see what it looks like. Yeah, okay, let's remove it. So this is how it looked before. As you can see, it was very different. And this is how it looks after. And that, folks, is how I edit in DaVinci Resolve for my color grading. Okay, so that is it, guys. That's the examples. I hope you found it useful. Yeah, for me, I just keep the nodes separate because it's just easier for my mind and to manage and to find what I've done. It creates it in a very systematic way, which I quite like. I like being organized, so that's why I use that approach. And I think that's the key thing to remember. Get all the good quality footage you can to begin with, and then when you draw it through, it just means you spend less time faffing about with it in whatever platform you use. And that's what I like, because I don't like being sat inside. I like being outside. I like enjoying the world. I like capturing footage, and I don't want to spend hours of my day editing. Ugh. So yeah, that's how I go about it. Simple but effective. If you want any links of the lookup tables for Fujifilm, I'll provide them below. You can actually do it yourself as well. You can save your own LUT in DaVinci Resolve. That might be another video, who knows, but that's another option for yourself as well. If you want me to do any more specific like guides, I don't know, about how I set up my X-H2S is what I'm filming on right now, for photography, filming, or just in general, let me know. But anyway, I hope this has helped. I hope you've enjoyed it, and it gives you a bit of an insight to what I do and the kind of vibe and feel that I like to give in my filming. So anyway, on that note, I shall get going because I'm getting boiling again. And yeah, stay you, stay awesome, stay wild, stay free. And until next time, you beautiful people, goodbye for now. Bye-bye. Which is all about color grading. Yeah, color grading. Just chuck my socks on and I'll be with you right away. Put wet bottoms on because I've been swimming in my shorts. Getting there, I'm getting there. It is what it is. Can you hear a woodpecker? That's a woodpecker. And I saw a kingfisher. Eric's here, by the way, he's down there. Eric, what happened? Did you get bitten? Oh, we got bitten.